And we are back. Welcome to the SoapBox, where people who work, volunteer, and care about recovery tell us who they are and what they are most passionate about. My name is Rich Jones, RN, and I represent parentingyourchildinrecovery.com and the home website secondstarts.com. That's the number 2 NDSTARTS.com. Today, my guest is Nicole Hope Sylvester. Nicole is a stress fluency educator and coach. Nicole, first of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you. I'm glad you're here because one of the things I am, most concerned about or passionate about, and what I try to do is help practitioners and everybody in recovery, do their jobs better. And stress is one of the major obstacles that people who are trying to care for other people run into. It sort of just comes back on you the more you try to give. You got to take on stress in order to relieve stress, I always believe. So it's good to have you here. And I think in listening to you a little bit before, what you have is even a little different and very interesting. So thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want you to right now give me that Cliff Notes version of Nicole and tell me who you are, how you got to where you're at today. Talk to me about Nicole.
Okay. Well, who I am.
Who you are.
So I am a coach, as you said, but I like to mostly I actually am referring to myself more these days as like a body guide because I'm trying to help people reconnect with their bodies. And stress is, to me, an indicator that we have lost that connection because we are pushing so hard that we're not taking care of ourselves. So I often say that stress is actually, we can use stress as a strategy, something positive, as opposed to something we're just trying to ignore or push away or avoid. It's just information from the body. How I got here was from being massively stressed out.
Okay, all right, and just kind of figured out ways to get a hold of it. And
yes, I actually, when my children were young, 2 and 5-ish, I was not knowing that's what it was, but in the moment was so ill and rashy and couldn't sleep and couldn't swallow and couldn't think and all these things, and realized, oh, it's just massive amounts of stress. Took me about 10 years to get to figure out that that's what it was, but that's what drove me to this.
Okay, were you a coach of any other type before this, or did coaching come to your mind after you had these experiences? How did that work?
Well, actually, by trade, originally I was a first grade teacher because I
Okay.
love children, which is part of what I'm hoping to get a combination of as I move forward, is to be working with adults and then kind of funding a side project to create a program for schools so that it's really easy to implement stress reduction, self-awareness, body awareness into schools, because that would keep a lot of people from a lot of
Oh,
problems
yes.
later on if they knew as children how to manage these fun little pieces of information. And so I was a teacher, and then I actually was a fitness instructor, a trainer, and I would do both nutrition and exercise training for people for a healthy body and mind. And then I moved into intuitive work and learning how to really understand people and empathically as well. And then all of this, I'm just like, let's put all those things together. What do you get? Teaching people how to understand their body.
Okay, excellent. Very, very interesting. Before we move on, just remind everybody that in the show notes, where we talking about more, I'll give you some contact information for Nicole and how she can help you, and her programs. We'll have that in there. We also talk about if you were the parent or mentor or practitioner of a loved one or loved one or someone that you care about who is at risk, in trouble, or in active rehabilitation, parentingyourchildinrecovery.com. Go there, and we have information for practitioners and for concerned family. All right, Nicole, we're going to go to the good part now. I'm going to put you up on the soapbox, and I'm going to throw some things at you, and I want you to, in these things, you're going to, kind of tell us what's going on with stress fluency and give us some more of an idea of, what it really is, because it's a little different than I think most people are thinking about right away. So,
Okay.
all right. So the first thing I'm going to ask you about, you brought up a little bit about being in touch and not ignoring our bodies during the stressful times.
Yes. I would offer currently that the kind of pushing aside of our body awareness is like I call stress an epidemic that everyone's
Okay.
talking about but not doing anything about.
Okay.
Right? Like,
Right.
oh, I'm stressed is such a common thing, but then we just go bop bop bop. Like, I'm stressed now, back to whatever we were talking about. And
Right.
I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's your body screaming at you that things are not working right, that things are off. And our first step in that is really learning to listen to our body instead of trying to ignore it or just quiet it or
Mhm.
push it aside. And so
Right.
stress fluency to me is like body literacy. I
Okay.
start paying attention to the information, the signals that my body is sharing with me. And now I can actually start taking action because that's all the body wants. It's just for us to do something. It's
Mhm.
information, so we take action. That's the point of the whole system in my mind. The nervous
Okay.
system, the very nervous system is always trying to tell us a thing that we can do to stay alive, but it can go much deeper than that. And
Okay.
so that's what stress fluency is. It's knowing body language, your own
Oh,
personal version of
a
it. And it's
person. Okay.
a little different for everyone, but really not. I mean, the key is actually paying attention to begin with.
Paying attention to be good. Okay. So, um, talk to me about the very role of stress. Why is that something we even have to deal with? What is with the stress thing? Okay.
What is the stress thing?
What's the
Well,
stress
I
thing?
call it, like the nervous system to me is the primal body, and the primal body, I call body, I have so many words. The body's intellect, the body's knowing of how to stay
Mhm.
alive.
Mhm.
Our body knows how to stay alive. It really does. Like it's, all I'm sure in your nursing world, right?
Mhm.
Like it's always doing things to try to fight disease or switch this or move around that. I have a fancy
Right.
ankle that's grown a bunch of bone spurs to try to protect it, but it's always working for it to stay alive
Right.
and to stay, keep eating, keep drinking, stay. We have a social component built into it because I pretend like we're zebras. And if we live in a zebra herd, it's safer for us to stay social in the zebra herd. So
Right.
there's a social element involved. And um, it's just trying to keep us alive, which means that through that filter of survival, it's always giving us information. Pain is something, it's a thing. It's
Right.
it's a function of us getting curious about what that means. Like, did we actually acutely hurt ourselves, or is it tension that we've built up over the years, or is it
Mhm.
something from the past that keeps coming back? And the more that we just ignore it, the more I believe this kind of intelligent body starts getting angry.
Okay.
Like the more that we don't pay attention, right?
Yes.
Until people are having panic attacks or they're like laid out in bed from a sickness or an illness. And I listen to Gabor Mate a ton, and a lot of his I don't know, philosophy is not the right word. Theory is that, most autoimmune diseases are because the body's held on to so much stuff over the years that it's just
Mhm.
constantly afraid, like trying to attack anything and everything external and
Okay.
internal. And so there's this component of what is stress, and stress is information from the body for us to take action to stay alive. And we need to listen to it. And it could be as simple as retraining. It could be like having almost a conversation with the body and be like, what do you need from me right now? Do we
Okay.
need to go for a walk? Do we need to stretch and move? Do I need to drink more water? One of the first ways for people to retrain their nervous system or kind of create trust with the nervous system or the body is to go to the bathroom when they need to go to the bathroom. Drink
Okay.
water when the body says we're thirsty. And the more that we come off that kind of natural path of listening to body signals, the farther our bodies hold more tension, the more that we are holding on to, because all of these non-actions are kind of getting stored in us. And
Right.
shoulders up by ears, right? Trouble swallowing, all of these people who have diaphragmatic tension. And then all of those compiled inactions, if you will, start really manifesting as real things. Diabetes, and heart disease, and all of this. And because the more the body is stressed, higher cortisol, everyone loves that word, but it's very real. The more that cortisol is off, the more everything else is off. And so it's not even functioning properly. So it's really coming back to basic survival: eat, drink, go to the bathroom, sleep, the basics. And we don't even do that.
Wow. Right. Do you find that just some of our societal belief systems, as you put it, or ways we handle certain situations, certain people, like I brought up, healthcare workers, you don't want to, you want to look a particular way. You think how much do these belief systems contribute to where we're at today in our stress,
Our
diet?
belief system, they drive our behaviors. I'm going to pause for a moment because I want to say this with clarity and succinctness. We have a primal body and a nervous system that's trying to stay alive, and all of that information gets filtered through our beliefs. And so whatever our beliefs are determine how we react to it. And if most of our beliefs that we use as adults are those that we created when we were younger, that we took in from either our parents or school or whatever. And it really depends on what we were exposed to, that we were like, this is how it's done. Right. And so we push, so if your belief has become that my job is to prove that I am perfect, which means I can never stop, which means I don't have time for self-care and self-management or self-awareness even. My goal is to always be looking externally for the next thing to prove my value, to show that I am worthy of a job or worthy of money or worthy of love, which is all that is. The more I don't take care of myself, the more I don't listen to signals. I have this external value to prove. And so, and that's pretty much where most beliefs at the shakedown of it come down to, are why we all push so hard and need to prove our value to people, is just that coming back to that zebra herd, inclusion and safety. So it's so big and so basic at the same time. Like, what is my body telling me and what is my belief about who I need to be right now? Period.
Got it. Okay. Talk to me about what you say, and you mentioned to me about the relationship between the mind and the body and how we can view that.
I think our minds and our body, we talk about gut instinct. So we know that our body has this kind of sentient self. We have intuition. There's lots more data coming out about even our body's coherence, like from the heart. When we practice gratitude, the whole physical body starts to come into coherence, the physiology of the body. And so these two pieces of us are always working together, right? Like this belief piece in the body. So body has information, brain and belief system, subconscious, all of this they're talking to each other all day. And the interesting piece is that they're always working. Even, in sleep, they're processing this, the two parts are still talking to each other. We're having dreams to process old stuff, right? Like there's a lot of things always happening. And interestingly, and most kind of curious thing that I stumbled on is that 95% of what we're doing in our middle age and older, like 35 and older, is we're working on an autopilot system of body having a reaction or brain having a thought, subconscious mind, and then we just do. Like we just have pattern behaviors,
Right.
pattern beliefs, and we're kind of like little baby robots. And
Mhm.
it makes sense because it's easier,
Right.
like in a brain computer system kind of way. If we just have these natural things that doesn't require us to have to think too hard. So we're conserving energy, right? By
Right.
not having to deduct and whatever. However,
Mhm.
if we don't get curious about why we do what we do or say what we say or think what we think, then we can just kind of lose sight of that relationship between
Okay.
the body and the mind. And then we just wake up one day and our bodies feel horrible, or we can't sleep at night anymore. And we're just like, what's going on? And it's because we've kind of just, we're not even paying attention to the mind or the body at that point. It's
Okay.
just running in the background. So
Okay.
that key of coming back to an intention of paying attention to the body
Okay.
makes it easier for us to pay attention to the mind and to see the interplay and work and start to develop an awareness of how they can work together. And it's really amazing. I mean, there was a point where I was so depressed that I could not get out of bed, and it was like maybe borderline. I wouldn't say suicidal. I would say the word don't care. Like
Okay.
apathetic, right? That's actually a
Okay.
nervous system really down low, and it's trying to stay aliveness, if you will.
Hmm.
And um, I just started understanding the mind body connection and understanding how to move my body, how to take care of my body, how to honor it, how to pay attention to my thoughts and that interplay. And like, I don't have to take anything. I take like my vitamin D,
Okay.
like,
Wow.
and I was able to really like move out of that because it was just a nervous system stuck point. And
Okay.
I really like people to know that because we just have to really understand our bodies way more. And we just don't. Like the general public
Yeah.
just hands that knowledge over to other people outside them, which is great. Okay. And it would be valuable for us to understand what's happening inside the thing that we live in till the day we die.
Okay. Very well put about that. Very well put about that. Okay. Excellent. Remind everybody in the show notes, have more information about Nicole's program, how you can get in touch with her. Uh, You'll find this very interesting, as I do, because it's something that we deal with, and the people that we, or most of us, work and try to help are dealing with it too. And this is so basic, but yet it's sort of something that gets past us. Like you said, we're living on automatic. We're all doing it. So we definitely want to think about that. And also remember too, if you are a parent, mentor, or a practitioner who cares or works with young adults at risk, in trouble, or in active rehabilitation, parentingchildrecovery.com is a non-clinical option that accelerates and multiplies results, leading to permanent and long-term recovery. Okay, Nicole, let's move on to the next part here. I want to talk about some of your projects and what's going on. Tell me about the Stress Fluency program and what does that look like if somebody was to try to get involved with you with that? What does that look like?
Thank you. So there's two different versions. One version is that I'm moving into working with businesses because work seems to be a very common place for us to
Yes.
start feeling that stress. And so I figured go to the source.
Yes.
So and I have programs where I work with individuals, which is also incredibly beneficial because it gets to be more personalized and we really can understand a lot of what's going on. And that is a huge piece of it. I created a framework to make it easy. It's not worth going through the whole thing, but I did create a framework called the Wiser Framework. And the
Okay.
idea is instead of living harder, we live wiser. Instead of
Okay.
the struggle, we can be more aware and live from this kind of wiser knowledge about how our body and mind work together.
Okay. All right.
But the main parts of that, really, the W and the I, is that I work with people to get them back into their bodies. A fascinating thing that I've experienced a lot recently is I'll say, let's feel this emotion. And I'm like, where do you feel this emotion? And people go, they point to their head. oh, I feel that here. I feel that here. And I'm like, what about in your body? Nope. And we've commonly lost the capacity to pay attention to our body, often because it's so uncomfortable to feel it that people don't want to even, like, as a survival system, we turn off our attention to it. And so the very first step in all of this, in both programs, is this W, which is waking up to the sensations and emotions in the body. Because that's the starting point, is just the intention to pay attention.
Okay.
And that takes a little bit of time just to practice, frankly. So that's a big one. And that's the easiest way, is that mindfulness practice of just remembering that in every moment, my job is to be engaging in life through my senses, the way we were designed, and not be so distracted with what has happened or what could happen and all of that, right? Just being present in the body. And when people start to allow that to become more of their habit, which takes time, and there's a lot of things that can be done in that to help the body calm down and release old tension and stuff like that, even old stuck, I don't love to say the word trauma, but that would be old stuck stories. Challenge stories is a better way for me to explain it, that can be in the body. And for work, I mean, I want to plug for a second for people who work with people who are hurting.
Yes.
So nurses, and like you keep, talking about working with children who are struggling, all of that. We have nervous systems that read other people's nervous systems. So that means that when someone near us is hurting, our bodies are also to some degree hurting. And so it is essential, I would say is the correct word, that people in industries who are working, and that includes teachers, anytime we are really working with people in that healing or teaching capacity, where we have to be in our best and not show the stuff that's coming up for us, it is essential for us to find ways to, what I call is like off gas it later, like on an Instapot where you slowly release that, because it's in us. We've taken it on. We are holding our own stuff. We're holding that space for others. We're taking on their nervous system dysregulation. I promise it's happening. And their emotions and their pain and their struggle. And it becomes a piece of us. And if we don't do the work, the intentional release to let it go, it will build up. And I have quite a few nurse friends, and their physical bodies are struggling all the time. And I'm like, you've got to, and a lot of that's fascial movement, it's breath work, it's feeling to heal, like feeling is healing. And all of that. And I just want to say, like, huge gratitude and compassion for people who do that work. And also, in order for you to keep doing that work at your best, you have to do the self-care. It's essential to make it sustainable, right? Otherwise, it can't continue. Anyway, so once you get the body back, that's the W. We're paying attention. We're like, oh man, it's a mess in here, right?
Okay.
We start doing the things, the daily little tiny practices to slowly, like I said, off gas, like letting the air slowly out of the Instapot. Then we have more capacity and space to actually pay attention to our thoughts and beliefs about situations.
Okay.
And when we can do that and know why we react the way we react or behave the way we behave, we have power again. And we're not on autopilot so much, right? We get to come back to going, oh, this is why I feel this way. Oh, I can do something about that.
Okay.
Right? This is why I think about the second when, when this happens to this person or someone says this to me, my first reaction is this tense tightness. And I'm like, that's interesting. Why? And then I get to come back to having the power over that. Is this true for me still? Or is this an adaptive belief I had when I was younger? And this matters so much. And as you continue down, the rest of the wiser framework is just, S is just self-care for sustainability. Once you
Okay.
start recognizing it, you can actually start doing something about it. The E is the empowerment, which means you start taking more control over your own life, which you do because things start to align when you have more capacity. And the R is understanding how to recalibrate, like again and again and again, because we are constantly changing. Our environments are changing, the people in our lives, we are changing ourselves. And so we need to be with more power to know how we need to get back to our center, to feel good in our bodies again, to feel healthy, to have space, to listen to others and be there for people in our career without sacrificing our own well-being. And that's really a big deal.
Right. Very, very. I thank you for that because that's exactly my real basis. Just so grateful that you would come on and talk about that because the people in this space and the ones that I even think I created the show for, they have a tendency to be, and I saw this from a television show, but it never left me. Um, a sin eater. I said, you're going to absorb what you're trying to help. You be careful that you don't want to, at least be knowledgeable about what's happening to you, because it's going to happen. We're human beings. We're going to take on what we're trying to help. It's just, just the way it is, technical or not. That's the way it is. So I appreciate you even bringing that to mind. And, you do retreats also?
I do retreats. They're starting to grow.
Okay.
It's a lot of this exact same practice. It's much easier when you have people in a small space for like a continuous amount of time to really get them to feel more relaxed, more calm, to start having that space. And most of the work that I do with retreats are in nature because there are things called like the 3-day effect. Being in nature allows your nervous system and everything to start to regulate naturally again because we are nature. So wouldn't that be a thing if the way that our body was designed, like the environment our body was designed to live in, would actually, because it does, like give us faster relief because that's what we're already predisposed to be, like in the environment we're predisposed to be in. So nature's a huge healer. And if you can't come to a retreat, just go outside or touch a plant. I mean, I don't want to get into the science of all of that, but there are so many ways that we can engage in natural settings or with living plants and animals. The value is massive.
Yes, I agree with that. My wife has a house full of plants and it is extremely helpful. I tell everybody if you can do plants, do as many as you can. It's something about it.
Well, boosts your immune cells count, like the T cells. Are those right? Is that the right word for that? But even all the phytotoxins that release from plants actually help our nervous system, our immune system boost up immunity, which is huge.
Very excellent. Now you do now your retreats. I'm assuming there's one-on-one abilities to work with you, and then work with groups also at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Okay.
it's really the nice thing about that time that I spent doing the intuitive work is that I mean, I am a super empathic person to begin with, just like I
Okay.
believe most nurses, people that end up working with people have already this gravitation towards them because they can feel and want to heal and serve and stuff like that. But my work with people one-on-one is I get some really beautiful intuitive knowledge about what they need faster than in group settings. Group settings are great for learning and understanding and practicing tools. One-on-one is just a beautiful space for me to offer deeper, more personalized insight.
Very, very nice. Very nice. Okay, everybody, listen. Again, pay attention to the show notes on this show. You'll be able to find Nicole, find out where she's at, get some more tidbits. Maybe that might be a good idea if any of you are in controls of groups of workers, directors of nurses. Trust me, I know this one. You might want to think about this because I'm sure that you've got a herd of people who are miserable. Sorry to say it, but so remember, I'll get that information out. And also, we also talk about parenting your child in recovery. If you're a parent, mentor, or practitioner who loves, cares, or works with the young adults at risk, in trouble, or in active rehabilitation, parenting your child in recovery is a non-clinical accelerant and multiplier of your results. There's information for supporting loved ones, and there's information for practitioners. Okay, Nicole, again, thank you so much for what you've helped us with. I appreciate you coming on. This is
Thank
extremely
you.
valuable. Matter of fact, this kind of thing means everything, because without the ability to maintain yourself, you're not going to go on, and you're not going to be effective. That's, it's quite as simple as that. So I
It's
thank you
true. Yeah.
very
And if you don't mind, I just want to add one tidbit to that
certainly.
work with kids and others. If you've ever wanted a good reason to justify your self-care in those situations where it's so easy to let ourselves go to trying to help and save somebody else, the more that our body gets, this is coming back to that nervous system thing, the more that our body gets run down and stressed out, it is actually affecting that person by then adding to their
Okay.
stress. So sense nervous systems and people who are empathic, people who, all of us, right, who have mirror cells in our brains, which mirror and feel oftentimes what the other person is feeling and
Okay.
experiencing and seeing. It is, again, coming back to that word essential, we don't want to add to their issues.
Right.
Which means we have to keep our bodies even more calm, even more relaxed, even more at ease, and our brains and our capacity to be even more adaptive and flexible to people's circumstances, which means that really it's that kind of oxygen mask thing, which I know is hyper used, but we have to put our oxygen mask on ourselves, or actually we may be doing more harm with our added stress to what
Right.
they're already feeling. And then they aren't going to feel better around us because we have this ball of stress that they're noticing, but we're smiling on the outside, but they're feeling what we're feeling on the inside.
Right.
And so there's a real importance for us to recognize that relationship to how we actually are experiencing each other in those circumstances.
Very, 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 very good. Very well said. Thank you so much. Again, thank you. That information is priceless. So
Thank you.
if you find yourself in a position to get in touch with Nicole, my suggestions are that you do, because if you're thinking about it, that means you really need it a lot if you're even thinking about it. So uh, for myself and Nicole, I want to thank everybody for being here. And as always, in closing, I want you to go out there and help somebody get better, help somebody stay better, and most importantly, let's help somebody be better. Thank you.
Thank you so much.